So our check engine light is on for our Chevrolet Equinox. In this video, I'm going to show you how to go over some diagnostic steps and make a repair for it. So to find out what the engine code is, we're going to be using the Launch 919X today. So let's plug this in and we'll read the codes. So now that we have our scanner plugged in, we're going to run a quick diagnosis here. So this scanner has the auto VIN detection, so it's going to figure out what this vehicle is. So now that our health report is done, we're going to take a quick look here on the ECM. So we have a P0496. System flow during non-purge for the EVAP system. So let's take a little look at some service data and we'll see what's going on here. So taking a quick look here at the P0496, it's going to give us a little bit more of information here. It's going to let us know the conditions for why this code would set, the conditions of the setting, and we have a couple options here for testing. So what it's looking like is we're going to go in, do the purge seal function, and we're going to monitor the fuel tank pressure sensor. So let's jump in on the scan tool. We'll pull up that information and we'll run this test. So we're going to go in the actuation. So we're going to look for the EVAP information here. So we're going to go into actuations test, EVAP emission system. We're going to pull up the purge seal test here. We're going to pull up the fuel tank pressure sensor. All right, so looking at this, what we're going to do is we're going to seal the system and wait 90 seconds, and the voltage here should be less than 1.7. So let's seal the system here and we'll monitor what it does. Okay, so we're back after 90 seconds and we can see that the tank sensor is well above the 1.7 volts. So we're going to shut this down here. So looking at this next option here, it's telling us that if the voltage is above that 1.7 after 90 seconds, we're going to replace the EVAP purge valve. So I'm going to show you a little bit of a different way also to check this system here. So we're going to go back into the live data. We're still going to look for the EVAP information. And we're going to pull up just a little bit of info here. So the fuel tank pressure sensors and the EVAP purge. So we can see that we're sitting with no vacuum on the system right now. So when we start the vehicle up, we shouldn't have any vacuum pulled automatically on the system. Let's fire the car up and we'll see what happens. So we can see right away that the system's pulling vacuum as soon as we start the vehicle, and the purge is at 0% command. So that right there is pointing out to us that the system is pulling vacuum, so the purge is stuck in the open position. Looking back at the service data here, we're gonna go and find out where this is located. So looking at the engine here, it's showing that the purge valve is going to be located on the left side of the throttle body. So let's jump under the hood and we'll find this component. So now that we're under the hood and we know we need to get to the rear of the throttle body back here, we're going to start by just popping off this cover. You're going to use a T30 for the single screw inside here. You're going to also need to open up the oil cap so we can pop off the engine cover. We'll place the oil cap back down and pull the engine cover aside. So looking behind the throttle body here, we can see the component is located right here. So this is the EVAP connection and there's an electrical connection underneath. So it's a little bit tricky to get to here. So we're going to start by getting the electrical line disconnected, then we can get to the clips to release the EVAP line. So I'm using just a tiny little pick tool and I'm trying to flick behind the connector on the electrical connector so I can pull the tabs up and disconnect it. So I've got the electrical connector disconnected. So the way it works is there's a single pull tab right here. It's gonna flick upwards. Now that we've got that disconnected, we can reach the EVAP line and we can get that disconnected now. So the way this EVAP line disconnects is when we're applying pressure from underneath here, this tab will lift up. So we've now got that line disconnected as well. So we're going to be using the AC Delco GM part. So the part number is 12737252. So looking at the new part, it's orientated like this. So we'll flick up the electrical connection first. You pull up on the tab and it'll come off. When you push up on the EVAP line, you'll be able to pop it off here. So we now just need to get to this 10mm bolt. Once that's out and removed, we can pop this out. It's just going to be held in by some compression in the rubber seal here. So we'll throw a little bit of grease on the seal when we go to reinstall it. So one thing too you can do, if you want to do this testing and you don't have a scan tool, what you can do is disconnect the electrical, disconnect the EVAP line. We're going to start the vehicle right now. And if you have vacuum on this line, as soon as you start the vehicle, that's letting you know that this is stuck in the open position and it's pulling vacuum when it shouldn't be. So I can feel right now, as I stick my finger on the front tip, there's vacuum being pulled right now. So that's letting me know that this is stuck in the open position and it needs to be replaced. So again, when we're looking underneath the orientation of the connector here, the EVAP line, the 10mm bolt is tucked just behind that. So the 10mm bolt is right here. So being able to get back here and get this 10mm disconnected is a little tricky without removing all this ductwork here. So what I'm using is a short ratchet with 2 short extensions and a short 10mm here. So I have the nut broken free, and I may be able to release it by hand now, and I can. If you don't want to try to fight with this, you can remove this ductwork here in the front, and that'll give you clean access to get a longer ratchet down there. You don't want to take it out fully using the ratchet right now, because if you do drop it with the ratchet, you won't be able to find it. So I just did the last couple threads by hand here. You should be able to now wiggle the component out. And I've got it out here. So we're gonna grab our new one, throw a little bit of grease on the side so we can get this in. So now that we have the new replacement part, we threw just a little bit of lube on the seal here to allow us to slide it in. We're gonna pull that bolt out because we don't wanna drop it. So we're going to put it in by hand to start. So let's place that aside and we'll get this put back in. So now that we're ready to install the part, I can feel the hole here on the back and the bolt hole. So I'm going to feed the part through, stick it in the right orientation, and it slides in nice and easy. So now that the part is installed, I can feel where the bolt hole wants to line up with the bottom of the housing. So I'm going to orientate it that direction. We're going to stick in the bolt. I'm going to start threading this in by hand here. I'm going to switch over to my short connection with the 10 mil. So now that I have the bolt as tight as it'll go by hand, we're going to switch back over to the mini ratchet. And we're just going to get it a bit tighter so there's no movement or play. So now that we have the new part in, we're going to reconnect the EVAP line and the electrical line. So again, the EVAP line is just going to push right back onto the housing here. There should be no play once it's connected, and we've got our electrical line, the same thing. We've heard the click. So now we've replaced the part, reconnected the lines. We're able to throw the engine cover back on. We're going to jump back in and just look at our data one more time to verify the repair. So again, before I throw the engine cover back on, if you do want to make it a little bit easier and not have to fight with a small ratchet and some extensions, you can remove this pipe here, and then you have the room to get a full ratchet in and move back and forth. If not, you're working in a very confined space here with a little bit of room. So it's up to you on how you want to go about doing that. So now that we're ready to throw this back on, again, we're going to just pop off the oil cap for a second. So now that we got the cover back on, we're going to jump inside and look at the data using the scan tool again. We're going to monitor to see if the vehicle goes under vacuum as soon as we start the engine. What we want to see is that there's no vacuum as soon as the engine is pulled. So another way you can test this broken component now that it's out is you can stick a vacuum gauge on here. You shouldn't be able to pull any vacuum through this because it's sealed right now, or you can blow through here. If you do feel a little bit of air pushing through here, that is letting you know that this is stuck open. So we can see the code is still present, and we have an additional code because we disconnected the electrical and the EVAP line and ran the vehicle. It did set a code here. But let's jump into the ECM. We're going to pull up the EVAP data here again just to verify the repair, and then we'll clear both those codes. So we can see we're at atmospheric pressure right now. Let's start the vehicle. We can see our purge solenoid command is still at 0, and we have no vacuum pulled on the system. So we could tell now that the repair is done and it is fixed. So we can now go back and clear those two codes. Those codes are now clear, and we're able to shut down the vehicle. This has been a quick video walking you through how to diagnose and repair a P0496 on a Chevy Equinox. If you found this video useful or looking for additional content, like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.